We have a Cowboys signing incoming as a new report reveals a sneaky good signing for the Cowboys to make post DaRon Bland injury. We'll tell you about the two different candidates the Cowboys could go out and sign and why they would be good moves for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. Welcome into Cowboys Digest, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show. I want to say a big thank you to all the support y'all have been showing on our shows over the past week or so now. Really do appreciate it. We're going to keep the content flowing and want to make sure that you are here for it. So if you are a part of the 87.4% that watch these videos and are not yet subscribed, today is the day, my friend. 100% free daily Cowboys content covering dem boys all year long. I promise you will not regret it. So go down there and join. It's free. So last night, we got the unfortunate news from Todd that the Dallas Cowboys could be without cornerback DaRon Bland for a couple of weeks after he suffered a right foot injury in Monday's practice. Now, Monday's practice is kind of an interesting wordage just because, in a normal week, you don't have a practice on Monday. But because the Cowboys started off the season with Thursday Night Football, they had a light practice on Monday, and unfortunately, DaRon Bland got injured in it. Now, we didn't know about this till last night because that's when the first injury report was established, on top of which that was the first day that media was allowed at practice, and you didn't see DaRon Bland in uniform. So that's kind of a big portion of that. But we have a little bit more information this morning, kind of talking about DaRon Bland and what the expectation is for him. Patrick Walker had this report saying that there's no timetable for his return, according to defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. However, Patrick did say this. Initially, I heard it should be a couple of weeks, and Dallas is hoping that sticks. So as of right now, I would have to bet he is for sure not going to play this weekend. Post that, I would probably say probably not going next weekend as well, past that against the Bears, but could have a chance to play back here at AT&T Stadium against Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers. That's probably the earliest he could return. Probably at most, though, we could see him out for the next 4 weeks. So we'll have to kind of see how that kind of turns. But at this current position, you only have one nickelback on your active 53-man roster without DaRon Bland. You do have Zion Childress on the UDFA, or was a UDFA, now he's on the practice squad. You could bring him up, but at the same time, you'd like to have somebody with a little more NFL experience, and even Reddy Stewart. He has, I believe, 1 or 2 games played in the NFL, and that includes the game that was just played this past Thursday between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. So what are some options out there for you in terms of free agent signings to maybe just put a bandage over this injury, at least for a couple weeks? Well, there's a couple articles obviously flying as soon as this injury report came out, and this was a headline of one of them saying the Cowboys have a no-brainer free agent to sign after DaRon Bland's foot injury. I'm going to highlight 2, though. I believe that this is a good headline because the person that this guy talks about is Kendall Fuller, and Kendall Fuller is a very experienced guy in the NFL, but the thing that we're going to talk about and why I think he fits so well with the Dallas Cowboys is he has a very similar skill set to DaRon Bland and Trevon Diggs. He has a very good ball-hawking presence, however, that sometimes can get him into trouble. Now, I'll say this. I'm not trying to diss DaRon. I think DaRon Bland, along with Trevon Diggs, are miles better than Fuller, but at this current time when you're in need of a nickelback, or at least depth at that position, because let's say worst comes to worst, Reddy Stewart, Zion Childress, one of them gets injured. You're holding one nickelback on your roster. I understand that in theory you could pop over a couple other cornerbacks. I mean, if it was really, really necessary, you could move some of the guys around, but I'd rather not get to that position and just have backup options readily available, no pun intended. Let's talk about Kendall Fuller, though, from here, a report of Lucas Mancherny from Fansided saying, quote, Kendall Fuller is a versatile corner with experience in the slot and out wide. He had his fair share of injuries in 2024, missing games due to concussions and a nagging knee injury to end the season. Statistically, it was one of his worst of his career, but on the bright side, Fuller wouldn't need to be a star corner anyway, end quote. And that's the biggest thing I'm trying to kind of say here, and that's why this is a sneaky good signing, because Kendall Fuller has 100% high upside, but you don't expect that from him. And if you don't expect that, then you at least know you have some depth in a guy who has been able to have a successful career in the NFL. Kind of going back to that similar skill set, that's what Lucas kind of quoted here, saying he has a similar skill set to Diggs and Bland, playing the ball in the air while risking giving up a play. The veteran knocked down 10-plus passes in 5 of his 9 seasons, but also gave up more than a 65% completion percentage as well. Very similar to DaRon Bland and Trevon Diggs. I think they get a little bit more of a bad rap for it just because, there's a couple games here or there where they've struggled in terms of Diggs and Bland. But, if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles game, they locked up Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. They only had 4 combined targets. I quote that more as good coverage over anything else. That also speaks to Kaiir Elam. However, Elam was the one that I believe got beat on that Jahan Dotson throw. Either way, doesn't matter. But let's look here at the stats for Kendall Fuller over his, I'll call it an illustrious career for now. He's playing almost into his, if he plays this season, it'll be right at his 10th year. So going back to 2016 when he was with Washington, his rookie season, 13 games played, 42 total tackles. But then he really started to pick it up after that, went to Kansas City for a couple years. In total, he's got 16 interceptions, 4 in his second year, 4 in 2020 with the Washington Commanders. He had 2 and 3 most recently in 2023 and 2022. Had to sign with the Miami Dolphins last year. Like I said, injuries kind of derailed that stint. I still, however, believe he is a very viable cornerback. And for the Cowboys, when you are in need of a viable cornerback and in a lot of ways a versatile one, can't find too much better on the open market right now than Kendall Fuller. There is other options, though, and that's where I kind of want to bring my own twist into it a little bit. But also got this report from Jace Andrews, which is why we're going to talk about it. She said this, new. My understanding is the Cowboys are currently, right now, they are looking for in-house options at corner in the wake of the foot injury to DaRon Bland, which would make sense. You only have him out. If they believe it's only going to be 2 weeks, you're probably going to look more internal first. But I don't trust that they're going to like what they find internally, or at least like enough to not have some depth options behind them. She also follows up with this, though. Meanwhile, here's the latest on free agent corner Stephon Gilmore. In her report, she says that Gilmore is 100% open to a Cowboys reunion. However, it's up to Jerry Jones and the Cowboys executives to see if that's a worthy deal. Big thing is Stephon Gilmore, he's not going to sign a veteran minimum contract. If he would, he'd probably be playing with some team right now. But he's already stated that's not what he's going to do. And, credit to him. If he thinks he's worth that, by all means, he can keep going with that. With that being said, though, the Cowboys have the second most cap space in the NFL after trading Micah Parsons. Seems like a good fit, right? Let's talk about it here. Go to a different report. Jerry Trotta of the Landry Hat saying, quote, signing Gilmore would solve all of that. While he's largely played out wide in his career, he has experience in the nickel. He logged 56 snaps inside with Dallas in 2023. The Cowboys had Jordan Lewis healthy for 16 games that year, so there was no need to play Gilmore in the slot whatsoever, and yet he played. Plus, Gilmore is an experienced cornerback. We know that his illustrious career, and I'll 100% say that, it's filled with a lot of very good things. Defensive Player of the Year, one of the better cornerbacks probably of our generation. But again, as I mentioned, Stephon Gilmore will not sign a veteran minimum contract. So where does that leave the Cowboys? That's kind of where we sit here. Jerry Trotta again saying, quote, as always, money will be a sticking point for Jerry and Stephen Jones. However, that is no longer a viable excuse with the savings created from trading Micah Parsons. The Cowboys have the second most cap space in the NFL at $38.442 million per over the cap. That's what I said. You get that over the cap money, and you're up $38 million right now. You don't need to sign Stephon Gilmore to a veteran minimum contract. And the injuries at your cornerback position have been a little bit jarring over the past year and a half to this point. I don't think it would be a bad idea to get a Fuller, to get a Gilmore, even in the wake of this injury, even if you don't have to send them to IR, simply put, because you need backups. And right now, I look at really this entire depth chart, and it's kind of an interesting one. I mean, you think about Kaiir Elam and Stephon Diggs, and they're great, or Trevon Diggs. Got to mix their names up, but I really do think Stephon Gilmore would be a very good option for the Dallas Cowboys. The one wild card to me, you have a option to go out and sign Stephon Gilmore, Kendall Fuller. They're going to be 1-year deals. You're probably not going to have them next year in theory. What is the updates on Siobhan Revel Jr.? What is the expectation? We know he's on IR. We know he won't be available to return until at least week 5. If he is going to be out for a more substantial amount of time than we are currently believing, that's where this signing becomes a lot more real. However, if Siobhan Revel Jr. is supposed to and scheduled and on track to be back by week 5, then I think you can be a little bit okay with roughing it for the next 3 weeks if you need to have it. Maybe even hopefully just 2. That being said, though, I don't think either of those are bad options. So here is the question of the day. Who would you rather sign? Stephon Gilmore, Kendall Fuller, or neither? I want you to type S for Stephon, K for Kendall, or N for neither. Kind of cut off there, but you understand the gist. So let me know down in the comment section, who would you rather sign, or would you rather not sign anybody and keep the in-house options as the way to go for the Cowboys? Obviously, we'll have updates for you on DaRon Bland and kind of what's to come in the wake of all these injuries and what's to go. I still think that if you look at Stephon Gilmore, he is a viable option at cornerback and a viable, versatile option. Plus, he has experience inside the organization. I mean, he was at the Star not 5 months ago, 3 months ago. There is a mutual interest in some ways for them to bring him back. He wants to come back. I think that the Cowboys would enjoy having him back on their roster, if not for anything, to be a coach to some of the younger cornerbacks. I mean, I know at this point DaRon and Trevon are they're maturing in a lot of different ways, but still isn't a bad thing to have a guy with this type and this level of career on your roster. So that's just my opinion, though. I think I would sign Stephon over anybody else if you are going to sign. However, I really do think it hinges on Siobhan Rebel Jr. And if Siobhan is going to be ready by week 5, I think it's okay to just, say, this stinks. We're going to have 3 weeks without DaRon. Ready, Stewart. Get ready, I think. And is the best thing you can say. Zion Childress, you're going to be up for the next 3 weeks. You can pull him up 3 times, so you can kind of have some flexibility to bring him up 3 times. But the unfortunate part is then after that, you're not going to be able to bring him up after that. So, DaRon's injured longer, if Reddy Stewart gets injured, whatever happens, you're going to be kind of tough out of luck unless you are able to sign Zion Childress to a full active roster. We will see, though, and we'll keep you updated as always. For now, though, that's all we got for you here today on Cowboys Digest. If you stuck around to the end, you are my favorite person in the world, and you're a real one. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time here on Cowboys Digest. Peace out, guys.